Good morning, everybody. It's about 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm in my sewing room. This is my favorite time of day to be here because the sun just pours in and it's lovely. I've got my favorite cup of coffee, my favorite mug, and I'm ready to go. So today we're going to talk about cutting out our yolks and using interfacing. So let's get to it. First of all, you have four yoke pieces. And if you do not have the pattern in the size that you want, please let me or Kathy know and we will make sure that you get it. Okay, so you have a back yoke, a front yoke, and then the same with the lining. There are a couple of things that I want you to change about this pattern because it will work better. First of all, on the front yoke, these buttonholes are way too close to the edge, so that when you have put this together, the seam allowance will be gone, and the edge of this, the edge of where the buttonhole comes, is way too close to the edge. Your button is going to ride up over the edge, which is totally not correct. So I want you to move these buttonholes down by a quarter, at least a quarter of an inch. The angle of the buttonholes may seem wrong to you. It may seem like you should have them going like this, but trust me, this is correct. When it sits on your child, you want the buttonholes to be vertical, and they will be if you do this. Okay, the next thing is that the back, where the buttons go, the strap on the shoulder, is too short. You are going to want to extend that. Now, I've done that, but I did it on my lining, so let me just show you that. You should really do it on all pieces, but I have not done that yet. So here's my lining piece, and I've extended it by an inch. I'm making a size 1, so I've only extended it an inch. You can extend it more if you'd like to, an inch and a half or so. One of the things you want to be careful when you do that is to make sure it goes straight up from this line, because you don't want it to flare out even the slightest bit, because then when you put it together with your finished dress, the front yoke is going to lie on top of the back yoke, and you don't want that back strap to be wider than the front shoulder. Okay, you don't want it to be sticking out over here. Okay, I would suggest that you just put a piece of paper under both of your back pieces, your yoke and your yoke piece and your lining piece, and make this extension. Okay, those are really the only alterations that you need to do. I will say this, that your lining pieces allow for a narrow hem at the bottom, or if you prefer, you can stitch a piece of lace across to finish it off. This is intended to come down over your smocking. Mine will come down over my smocking because I've done a size 1 and I've only done, 4 or 4.5 rows of smocking. But if you've done, I would just double check that with your pattern, that it is going to come down over. You can make this longer and then cut it away a little shorter if you don't need it. So you might want to do that. Okay. So the other thing we need to talk about is interfacing. So interfacing serves a number of purposes. One is that it will make your yokes a little firmer. I mean, it's a lot of gathered fabric that's going to go on this little yoke, and if you've used, fairly lightweight fabric, it may make the yoke droop a little. So that's one reason to use interfacing. The second reason to use interfacing is when you construct your yoke, you're going to have these seam allowances turned in, and depending on your fabric, that they may be visible through your fabric. So that's another reason to use interfacing. The third reason is you would really want to use a piece of interfacing at least, if you were, even if you weren't going to interface the whole yoke, under your buttonholes and your buttons. So in my estimation, it's just easier to interface the entire front yoke and back yoke. You need to use very lightweight, like a featherweight, woven iron-on interfacing. If you have German interfacing or something that is similar, that's perfect. Okay, so we don't want the interfacing in the seam allowances. So what I've done with these two pieces, since they're so small, I took my pattern, my front yoke and my back yoke. Let's get rid of the linings here. I took my front yoke and my back yoke, and I copied them on the copier, and then I, with the extension on, your extension should be on this back piece, copy them on the copier, and then you can simply cut away the seam allowance. You don't want to do that on your real pattern, but when you make a copy you can do that, and that's how you want to cut out your interfacing. Here is my little front yoke. Okay, that's the outside. This is a tiny, tiny aqua and white stripe. And then here is my piece on the other side, interfaced. I think that is it. Let me see. Yeah, I think that's it. So you can go ahead and cut out those pieces and look for the next video, which will be done shortly. And enjoy your coffee and have a great day. Bye.